Welcome to Been There, Watch That, your favorite movie and TV reviewers. Myself, Justin, and with me, as always, Dave and Joe. Joe, maintains our website, BeenThereWatchThat.com. Check that out for our past reviews, which we do burnt popcorn all the way up to a mop bucket. And we've been all over the board. There's been some definite stinkers, and also some mop buckets. I recently gave out my first mop bucket on the socials, BTWT Pod. So Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, just type BTWT Pod. Go on there, reach out to us, give us some suggestions on what we should review today. This is the 8th movie from the 80s that we are reviewing. Christmas Vacation, and there's a couple that we won't name. Blues Brothers, Vision Quest, and today, The Outsiders from 1983. Take it away, boys.
And this is our first online submission, so
yeah,
so this is
neat little category that got
fan
added
pick.
in. Yeah, fan pick. I like it, and this is one of my favorites. So I'll let that out right now. One of my favorites. I like S.E. Hinton. You guys know anything about S.E. Hinton?
No.
This was written while she was in high school.
Okay.
She was tired of the old Mary Jane wants to date the football captain,
Right.
The book. She
type
wrote the
scenarios.
book.
Yep.
It's
So
a book?
she wrote the book.
Okay.
Yep. And she also wrote Tex and a couple other books. But S.E. Hinton. So the reason it's S.E. Hinton is because her publisher said, "Hey, we got to change this so that people think, back in this day, that it was a male author,
Yeah.
maybe, leaving that for question, so it sounded more male."
Well, now I have a little trivia on S.E. Hinton, but I won't let the cat out of the bag on that
Okay.
just yet.
Because her name's Susan Eloise Hinton, and she
Now-
was 15 years old when she wrote this.
Was this a
Really?
book that
Yeah.
you saw, like, in the school library when you were
Yeah.
younger? But I guess
Yeah,
some
they-
schools banned it, though. They
Well, back in the day, they banned it because,
smoking and,
smoking,
violence.
underage drinking,
Yeah.
gangs.
Mhm.
It was a big deal back in the 70s.
But you did read it?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Okay.
And Tex is a good one, too. It's a little shorter and a little less social issues and more like personal teenage issues. Tex is a good one, too.
Yeah, when you were giving us a quick overview of it last week, Dave, you said this is packed full of stars.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
Yeah.
And you weren't lying.
The list
I'll
is
say
huge. I mean, Patrick Swayze, Tom Cruise, Emilio Estevez, Ralph Macchio, Matt Dillon, Rob Lowe,
Yeah, I have a list of them here.
Diane
but-
Lane.
Diane Lane. I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
go ahead, Joe. Finish up.
All right. So, Gaylord Sartain played Jerry. Was also in Fried Green Tomatoes and The Replacements. C. Thomas Howell played Ponyboy Curtis. Was also in E.T. and The Amazing Spider-Man. Matt Dillon played Dallas Winston, and is also seen in There's Something About Mary and The Drugstore Cowboy. Ralph Macchio played Johnny Cade, and everybody knows him from The Karate Kid.
Mhm.
And I did not know this, but he was in My Cousin Vinny.
Who?
Ralph Macchio.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's the main character.
Well, I don't guess I've watched it enough over the years.
Yeah, he's the
pay
main guy.
attention.
It's his cousin Vinny that it's about. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Because
Yeah.
I always think of Joe Pesci. I just don't.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I mean,
Okay. Right. And
Joe
s-
Pesci made the movie, but
And as Dave mentioned, Patrick Swayze played Daryl Curtis, and Patrick Swayze was in Dirty Dancing, Roadhouse, and Ghost.
hmm
Rob Lowe made an appearance
Yeah.
as Soda Pop Curtis, and he's been in Wayne's World.
they're all so young. It's crazy.
Yeah, and it's on. Some of them are almost unrecognizable.
Mhm.
They're so young.
Yep.
Emilio Estevez played Two-Bit Matthews. Emilio was in Young Guns and the Mighty Ducks movies. Tom Cruise played Steve Randall, and Tom Cruise is known for Top Gun, Jerry Maguire, and the Mission Impossible movies. And Diane Lane played Cherry Valance, and she was in Inside Out and Under. And here we go, Justin. And I know you're going to nail me on this one. Under the Tuscan Sun.
I'll let it slide this time.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Don't want to nitpick.
I was waiting on it.
now, yeah, and now as always, this is my stance. Read the book first. The book
Okay.
is amazing. And S.E. Hinton, just if you're not sure, also wrote Rumblefish, Tex. That was then. This is now. Hawks Harbor. So she's got a lot of books out there. Pretty good stuff.
So
All right.
the movie was released on March 25th, 1983. And just a quick synopsis, the rivalry between two gangs the poor greasers, and the rich Socs. I didn't say that right, did I?
Yeah,
That
socials. Yeah.
sounds right
Okay.
to me.
Only heats up when one gang member kills a member of the other.
Mm. The Socs basically picture. Well, this is like set in the 1950s, late 50s, right? So you picture the most cookie cutter, good looking, athletic sports type kids, and then there's
Yeah.
the greasers that are
The poor
jeans
blue
and
jean
slick
wearing.
hair
Yeah.
and James Dean looking.
Yep.
crowd.
It's so funny because the distinction is amazing. Because the Socs had their varsity coats on, their khaki pants,
Yeah.
their loafers. For the most part, drove around fancy cars, and your greasers had their hair slicked back, black T-shirts, blue jeans, boots.
And
Working
all
class.
the greasers are coming from just pretty broken homes.
Yep.
The houses that are falling apart and violence in their household and stuff like that.
Kind of the wrong side of town.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Other side of the tracks for sure. And Diane Lane's character, Sherry, she's the one that kind of bridges the gap a little bit.
Yeah. Romeo and Juliet story.
She isn't afraid to socialize a little bit with Ponyboy, who's
And I thought they did a
The
great
main
job
character.
casting this because Ralph Macchio is that meek, mild, not really into fighting,
Yeah.
kind of
greaser.
broken psychologically
Yeah.
at the beginning of the movie. He's got a scar on his face where he recently got beat up, and he's just kind of
Well, the Socs caught him out,
Yeah.
and beat him up, and
the kid with the rings on his finger kind of beat
Yep.
him up, got the scar on his face, and he's
Yep.
like, he's starting to lose his mind. He wants to get out of this situation he's in because it's just kind of bleak that everywhere he goes, there's always this rivalry where he's looked down upon and beat up and ran. It's real funny they call them gangs. You might call the one a gang and the other just
Yeah.
kind of the jocks in general.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy to think, back then this is the life that is portrayed.
Yeah.
But I still can't get over the hit of actors. This has got to
Yeah.
be one of the few movies that has that many actors and actresses
And
that are
this
high
is-
level names.
Yeah, and this is before they became household names.
Mhm.
I mean, obviously Patrick Swayze was a household name at this point, but for the most part,
Do we have the money spent on this? Like the
yeah. So the budget was an estimated $10 million. Opening weekend was a little over $5 million. In the U.S., it grossed over $25 million.
so yeah.
Yeah.
So cleared $15 million on this movie.
Oh, and I watched this one with my dad. So when I said, "Dad, were you a Soc or a greaser?" and he said, "Oh, I was kind of in the middle. I hung out with both of them."
Yeah.
But he knew the reference. This
Really?
this was when he was. Yeah, he was born in 1950, so this is his time period. That, in theory, maybe some of the kids he was coming up with had this look going, and he said, "Yeah, I definitely do some greasers. The kids that had the muscle cars and looked." Tried to look a little more rock and roll than the more straight-laced kids. Should be mentioned Francis Ford Coppola movie that The Godfather is his. Yeah, claim to
Oh,
fame.
okay.
But he's the director on this.
Yeah.
So had your dad seen this movie before?
Many years ago, but yeah, that's how a lot of these are. Maybe he'd seen them before, but it's pretty much a fresh take on it.
So Francis, during filming, actually wanted to create tension between the two groups so it would actually come out on the
Mhm.
screen. So during filming, the actors that played the Socs were given nice leather-bound scripts and were put in luxury accommodations, while the greasers were given battered paperback scripts and had to stay on the ground floor at the hotel just to create tension between the two groups.
Yeah, and the Socs got more spending money and better amenities.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, and Diane Lane and Matt Dillon went on to star in Rumblefish, which was the back-to-back films that they did with S.E. Hinton.
Really? Did you know that S.E. Hinton? Okay, here's my little S.E. Hinton trivia. Did you know she made an appearance in the movie?
Yeah.
Where?
Yep. I don't know where, but I knew she was in it. Ooh.
So in the scene where Dally threatens the nurse in the hospital with Two Bit's knife, the
Ah,
nurse is S.E. Hinton.
nice.
Yes. Just kind of just slid right in there and didn't even know it.
Huh.
Which is kind of interesting. They was actually able to get that one in there and nobody noticed. Kind of like when the Blues Brothers when they had Steven Spielberg right there in
Yep.
the middle of everything, and nobody knew.
Yep, nobody noticed.
Yeah.
So they got this made. They got Francis Ford Coppola on board because he had never heard of The Outsiders until a middle school class in California petitioned him to make a movie of the book.
Huh. The kids spoke and he listened.
Yeah.
Wow.
Nice, but nice work for the kids.
Yeah, it's I was scratching my head a little bit trying to figure out what's the setting of this, because a lot of the characters have a bit of a twang to their accent,
Yeah.
and getting through the movie a little bit, then you see Oklahoma as the setting, like Tulsa.
Yeah. I had a little trouble at the beginning when they was, setting you up with all the characters, who the characters are. I had a little trouble at the beginning to start to follow because I thought I missed something. But just the way they was building the beginning, I was sitting there watching, okay, what's the premise of the story and what?
Yeah.
So I had to actually pause the movie, go read the synopsis of it, and then went back and was like, okay, now let's make a little more sense on where the path we're going here. Because a lot of times I don't read that stuff. I'll just click play and see where it takes me. Well, it was taking me nowhere fast, so I was like, it's gonna be a long night if I can't figure out where we're going.
Yeah. Huh. Is there anything? So I know we talked the Socs and the Greases. Where did you guys fit in, you think? I mean, we don't exactly have those social cadres now, or social groups.
Yeah, I definitely
spread out a
wasn't
lot more, but
wasn't a rock and roll kid by any stretch, so I'd probably fall into by default just more of a sport.
the problem is we're rural West Virginia, where Walmart clothes, jeans, T-shirts are general
Right.
school uniform.
Right.
So can't really distinguish yourself too much when everybody here wears blue jeans and T-shirts.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I was an athlete, 3 sports, so I wasn't exactly a Soc because I wasn't a rich athlete like these cats, but
Right.
I was an athlete.
Yeah.
I hung out with everybody. I kind of feel like your dad. I was kind of with everybody.
Yeah.
Did you relate any of it back to your high school days or early 20 days where you're like, they did have these social norms?
I think I missed some of this distinct social groups.
I think the social groups aspect of it, that's kind of timeless.
Yeah.
Now, having one group walk around with the varsity jackets and the muscle cars, I think that's a little dated. And then having a group walk around with the leather jackets and the greasy hair, that's a little
And the
dated.
switchblade knives.
Yeah, that's a little dated. But the overall one group just despising the other just because they exist, that's kind of timeless.
Yeah.
Kind of the main character is one of the younger actors, the C. Thomas Howell, who plays Ponyboy.
Yep.
And he's pretty much the central character. It all revolves around him. And Matt Dillon is the older kid who's basically taking these 2 younger kids under his wing, even though he's totally lets them get into all sorts of trouble and they're smoking all the time. But he's like the bad boy, like older guy
Yeah.
that they kind of emulate a little bit, but they also don't follow in his footsteps in some cases because he's just totally off the wall. And he's later in the film, he's in the car and he's kind of talking about, if you just only worry about yourself, you can't get hurt. Like, that's his whole thing. Whereas Ponyboy's more like, no, you can help other people and you can reach out a little bit more. But Dallas, he's just so scared of getting hurt that he's always just lashing out on everybody and just doing that tough guy demeanor all the time.
Oh, yeah. And it's, it's tough because there's so much or so many teen issues, I guess is the way to put it, rolled up into this movie because as you're alluding to there, every character has their own personal battle. Every character has their own thing that they're looking out for. Like Patrick Swayze's trying so hard to keep, his 2 brothers out of trouble and in school, and and
their parents are dead.
Yeah, the parents are dead, and they're just fighting an uphill battle, or he's fighting an uphill battle trying to keep those 2 safe,
If they get
fed.
in trouble, they get sent off to the boys' home. He's always worried about that.
Yeah, and and then the rest of the crew is, they're taking care of Ralph Macchio's character. He's a 4th brother for him, and then the rest of the crew shows up and hangs out there. And I kind of assumed that it was because there, weren't any parents home, so they could kind of just, it's like a clubhouse.
Right.
And Patrick Swayze comes in, tries to be a dad to all of them.
Yeah, and plus you kind of get the hint of he's trying to put on his strong front to take care of everybody, but yet there's still little hints and glimpses that he's still trying to make sense and process the whole situation himself. So you kind of, at one point you think he's kind of being of a jerk, and then you realize, look, he's basically dumped all this on his plate. So yeah, he's gonna have flaws like anybody else. He can't, he signed up for a job that he was basically dumped on his lap. He didn't ask to have this job, but just thrown at him. And he's trying to
doing the best he can.
Yeah, trying to make the best out of a bad situation.
Yeah, that's one of the scenes is like Pony Boy comes home at 2 a.m. because he was with his friend and they just built a little campfire and fell asleep for a while. So he's like, oh man, I gotta get home. But then Patrick Swayze's character Derry, he's basically in his face saying, why are you home so late? And then he loses his temper and kind of pushes the other kid down, and then the kid runs away. And you can see that kind of like really bothers Patrick Swayze's character. Like he just kind of snaps, and then he's like, man, I shouldn't have done that. So it's like a lot of tension in the household, and
and they have to be such tough characters, for themselves to fit in, belong, and take care of themselves, and then they have to switch gears and try to be caring, and Patrick Swayze's character is not a dad, he's just acting as a dad, as an older brother, and that's switching roles is crazy.
Right.
And that happens every day in society, we know that, so that's what kind of, I think, makes this movie poignant, is that it hits home on those deals.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. What do you think the most?
Definitely some heavy stuff. I mean, every day they go outside, they're dealing with. They might have to get in a fight at some point because it's just this tension is so ratcheted up between the Socs and the Greasers. Yeah, you kind of wonder, like, man, was it actually like that for some kids growing up in this time period where the groups were just so, solidified on either side that you couldn't walk past somebody of the other group without feeling the tension, but possibly getting in a fight.
Yeah, you couldn't. One couldn't tolerate the other. You just couldn't tolerate their existence. It was wide open or completely cold. There was no just, they're there, we won't bother them. It was one extreme or the other.
And basically, they jump on a train and go hide out, basically, because the one kid stabbed and killed another.
Yeah,
kid,
well, I thought,
they're on the run for a certain part of the movie, and then they come back.
And that's what they know,
That was a little weird. They kind of let the kid off the hook. In theory, they're like, well, we're not going to charge him with murder because they saved the kids out of the burning church.
Well, and then the girl said, hey, she saw, it was self-defense. They were going to drown him.
They were drunk and instigating the whole thing, which they were. But the Socs were pretty much, they grabbed the one kid and they were dunking him in the water, and then the other kid ran up behind him and stabbed him. So maybe not the best. Maybe in that moment he felt like that was the only thing he could do because there were like 5 of them. He wasn't going to be able to fight them off, but definitely took it a little too far.
And I found it interesting how they portrayed the murder. You just seen him get up with the knife, and then all of a sudden you just seen red paint splash across the screen. Little different than what modern movies, they just show you just blood, guts, and gore and everything. But the splash of red paint told plenty of the story. And actually, I found this. According to author S.E. Hinton, that scene with the whole water fountain caused some real life issues.
Yeah.
So the boys went back to the hotel after filming this and was fooling around and was mocking the whole scene at the hotel they stayed at. The hotel they stayed at had a fountain in it. So in the lobby, so they was over there playing, horsing around, acting like they was trying to drown each other. So Hinton states that the hotel went and actually removed the fountain within weeks of that event.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because they was in there horsing around. Yeah.
Removing a whole fountain. Get it out of here.
We can't have these kids in here tearing this stuff up.
Tom Cruise is probably the biggest name, but he's pretty minor in this.
Yeah.
And he's just kind of this loose cannon wild guy that's always like ready to fight and screaming and stuff.
Yeah.
I guess maybe he works in like a auto shop or something. It seemed like he kind of had, like, or it works on cars a lot or something. It seemed like he was kind of greased up and.
Interesting stuff. So here's a little tidbit. The Tulsa, Oklahoma house that acted as the residence of the Curtis family. In 2009, Danny Boy O'Connor, who is a musician for House of Pain, saw that the property is being neglected. He and some of his friends gathered money and bought it. But now O'Connor is asking for donations to pay for the $75,000 in renovations it needs. And if it's successful, he plans on turning it into an outsiders museum.
Ooh,
That'd be cool.
that'd be interesting.
It's kind of crazy to think that a musician like that is going to have to raise money to fund the project.
How many times have you seen this one, Dave?
A lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you notice anything new this time around?
I started to think more about the scenes themselves and the social implications, where I think when I watched it before, especially when I was younger, I was just like, oh, neat movie. Yeah, they're going to fight. Yeah, it's going to lead up to a fight scene, you know, and yeah, you know, you don't cross the boundaries of your group to date and stuff like that, and how awkward that makes it. But this time around, I think part of it too is just I knew we would have this conversation. Is that you know, I looked more, and it could be because I'm older, but looked more at the social implications and how that still exists today, you know, and not the greaser part and the social part, but just, you know, if you're poor, even today, you don't really try to date somebody that's rich, you know, and vice versa, you know, and friends still look down on your choices for who you date and so forth based on their social status.
Yeah, it's kind of
So
like
it's still, you know, from 1960 until now, it's still there, still present.
It's kind of like the caste system. You don't go above your.
Yeah, you don't punch above your weight, so to speak. Yep. So that's why I watched it a little differently this time. So.
Do you remember them mentioning that Patrick Swayze's character, they said he would be a Soch if he wasn't, like, kind of through family ties?
Well, that's, yeah, because he was an athlete. He
Yeah,
was a star-studded athlete. And
because there's, like, the big fight showdown, and Patrick Swayze's character is, like, facing up with this jock, but they're kind of like, hey, how's it going? Because they remember each other back from their sporting days.
Yep, when they played sports together, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that scene with Patrick Swayze and Tom Cruise, Tom Cruise, you know, did a standing back tuck off of the top of the truck. That Patrick Swayze actually coached him beforehand on how to do that. Right before the scene was filmed, Cruise nervously approached writer S.E. Hinton and said he was afraid of not going to be able to perform the stunt, and because he felt nauseous from eating too much at lunch. Hinton asked him if he thought if he would feel better if he threw up, and Cruise said he thought he would. So Hinton took him to the food truck and made him drink raw eggs until he threw up, resulting in Cruise feeling much better and doing the stunt without a problem.
Crazy.
I read that, I was like, wow, that's a really deep dive. Like, here, kid, let's get you food poisoning until you barf, and then you're good to go.
Wow.
So go ahead, Justin.
Yeah, I just wonder what age Patrick Swayze's character is supposed to be. He comes off as, I mean, definitely much older than all the other characters.
Yeah.
I don't know if you noticed that.
Yeah, I was going to say probably at least 20, 21, 22, maybe something like that.
Yeah.
So now, Dave, you said you've watched this movie several times, right?
Oh, yeah.
Have you seen the special edition?
No. I have not. That interests me, but I have not seen it.
Yeah, because it contains 22 additional minutes of footage.
Yeah, there are a lot of scenes cut out, apparently.
And I actually have a list here of the scenes you want me to go through.
Sure.
So there's an extended opening scene where Ponyboy is attacked by the Socs when walking home from a Paul Newman movie. The principal greasers are also introduced. Later, Ponyboy and Soda Pop talk to each other in their bedroom. There's a scene where Ponyboy asks some farmers how to reach Jay Mountain. He claims that he's playing Army and needs to report to base. An alternate scene in the church where Ponyboy images both Soda Pop and Derry are present. A short scene where Ponyboy splashes some water on his face outside the church while Johnny is out buying supplies. A scene in the church where Ponyboy and Johnny become emotional over the events of the past 24 hours. An extended reading of Gone with the Wind. A short scene when Ponyboy finds Tim sitting on his couch in the morning. We'll scroll down a couple more here. A scene where Ponyboy runs into Cherry at school, but she walks away from him. Ponyboy's teacher also informs him he is flunking, but allows him to write a paper on a personal experience in order to raise his grade. A dinner scene where Soda Pop becomes angry that he's always stuck in the middle between Ponyboy and Derry's tug of war and runs away. When he eventually catch him, they agree to stop fighting all the time. There's a few more, but I'm just
Yeah.
Maybe, all right, like especially the first one you mentioned, where a scene where he gets beat up, like probably not necessary because you get the idea pretty quick that there
Yeah.
is this tension, people are getting in fights. Yeah, not to criticize it too much, but there's this completely dilapidated church. It's basically falling into the ground, and that's where they go to hide out after the kid stabs the other kid. And then they leave for a bit and come back, and then suddenly there's like this whole church group or like a classroom of kids and stuff trapped inside. And I thought that was kind of weird and
Hold on, that wasn't the same place.
Was it not?
No.
Really?
No, they were driving back. That was just along the trail.
Oh.
okay.
No, it was a
Because I'm
schoolhouse.
with Justin on this one. I thought it was the same place.
Uh-uh.
Because it had the barn owl in it.
Yeah, this is the same place. This is the owl was still in there.
Yeah.
The owl that was like looking at them while they were sleeping and hiding out. They came in. That owl flew right past them as they came in.
Where
So
the,
that was
where
a
the
little
kids
weird.
were on fire?
The
Yeah.
kids were inside at like a completely unsafe, dilapidated building for no apparent reason, and then they saved them and
Yeah,
became
'cause-
heroes. It was
Okay, so
a bit of a stretch. I thought.
I'm glad you brought this up, Justin, because I thought I missed something. But I thought my show
Oh
was
yeah,
next
me
straight,
too. I
I
was
missed
like,
something
what
somewhere.
is going on? Why is this for suddenly like
Okay,
a school trip? to
so
this-
so we're both on the same page. Then we both didn't miss something because I thought the same thing. It's like, okay, this building's supposed to be abandoned, but yet they're
it's
having
literally
school in
about to
it.
fall down. Yeah. And
Yeah.
there's kids inside. It made no sense. That part, I was like, what the heck? But I mean, it seemed like that was just a stretch to make them like the heroes for saving some random kids one time.
Yeah, yes,
Totally thrown in there. Like,
yeah. You're just like, oh, by the way,
Yeah.
here you go. Okay, so I'm glad I wasn't the only one on this, and I thought I missed something.
No, you're right.
No-
okay. I
no
didn't pay
real-
attention. I just assumed it was a different building because they were in a car, and I was like, oh, they're going by a different place.
No, they went off and did something, then came back to where the hideout was, and suddenly there's these kids inside, and it's on fire.
Yeah, because I just assumed it was the same building, and then when Dave said no, it's a different building, I thought, well, okay, and then they hit me like, no, the barn owl was there, so it has to be the same.
Yeah,
building.
yeah, you're right.
That was a little weird. I thought that just why that group of kids was out there was just
Yeah,
a
because when I
little
saw
weird.
that, I thought, okay, they've been staying out here for several days. So how come all of a sudden, just out of nowhere, these kids show up and nobody's none the wiser that one didn't know the other existed?
It would have made a lot more sense to they're driving along and they're not back to that place yet, but they see a fire and they pull off. That would at
Yeah.
least be more plausible, I thought. But
Yeah, but now all of a sudden, the place you've been hiding out for
They
days,
chose it because it was like so remote
Abandoned,
and
yeah.
abandoned and just total.
nobody
yeah.
would ever be there.
Yeah, that was odd. That was weird.
Yeah, that is weird. I never put it together, honestly.
And definitely the final brawl, like the fight scene, was a little comical in some places. Like just pull back to do a punch, and it's like so telegraphed, and the other guy's like catching it. Definitely
Yeah.
an '80s like over the top type of fight scene. It was a little funny, I thought. Some of the punches clearly like did not hit the person, and
Well, yeah, early 80s.
yeah.
Those are wireless punches, Justin. I don't have to touch it, but you're going to feel it.
Yeah. That was quite interesting. The idea of once a year we all get together and have a huge fight and just punch the heck out of each
Yeah,
other.
yeah, just kick a living thunder out of each other just for fun. You know,
What was it called? The Rumble? Or
yeah, the Rumble.
they're all getting ready like, oh, the Rumble's coming up. We gotta get ready to go fight.
Yeah, it's one of those. You know, I will openly admit I've done a lot of stupid stuff over the years, but going in and open the field and getting the thunder kicked out of me, that just never ranked on my list of fun things to do. I don't know what you guys did for fun, but for me, getting beat up to no end just never sounded fun to me.
Do you guys have a favorite character? I kind of like 2-Bit. For me, he's
Yeah.
entertaining. Emilio Estevez's character and Matt Dillon character. He's just such it's kind of hard to like him. He's
Yeah, he's kind of like
rough.
the scoundrel,
Yeah.
rough, mysterious, in trouble always.
Yeah.
They had a lot of different characters. So if you're looking at, if you look around your group of friends, and what role everybody plays, they had such a good mix there.
Yes.
And that's why I enjoyed the movie, because there's a little bit of each of the characters and everybody, so you can kind of relate to that. Sometimes you want to be that tough Matt Dillon character. Sometimes you want to be the funny Emilio Estevez character, or the carefree Tom Cruise, or, whatever the case may be, and everybody wants to be responsible like Patrick Swayze, but yet stepping up to take care of business when he has to.
Now, I want to know why the guys, when they went to cut each other's hair with a pocket knife, why did they have a dull knife blade with them? I mean, you can't tell me in that whole group of greasers there was not one person who knew how to sharpen a knife blade. They know if they use it for personal protection, they would have a sharper blade with them. I mean, that's just...
And you're referring to they cut their hair because they're on the run. They want to change their appearance.
Yeah.
Even when they cut it, it doesn't really look all that different.
yeah, that too. One, they use... I mean, you could probably get the same results with a butter knife.
Yes.
And two, it doesn't really... And I can't... So, you bring up an excellent point, Justin. It doesn't look that much different. Plus, did you look? It's all nice, evenly cut. The way they's cut, and with the way that dull as that knife was, there's no possible way they could have got that even cut all the way around. I mean,
yeah.
Yeah, you can tell they shot the scene, and then the kid walked over to an actual hairdresser, and she cut it. And
Yeah.
then came back
Yeah.
on camera. All right, got it cut.
And I also read where they used the peroxide to dye his hair. If they did that in real life, it wouldn't have actually turned that shade, that bright of a color. It wouldn't have worked out as well. That was on the IMDb list.
Yeah. What was your favorite scene? Did you have a scene that just kind of caught you, or made sense to you, or maybe tugged at some emotions?
I'll think of something here in a second. Just running it back in my head.
I have two.
I'm going to guess yours is the big fight scene, because it had rain, fire, people.
No, I'm like Justin. That was kind of more.
Yeah. Okay.
The way they did the fight scene at the fountain.
Yeah.
That one was the way they
Definitely
did
a lot of
that.
tension.
Framed it and
Yeah, that one, and then the church scene when they were
Yeah.
saving the kids, and then when
Yeah.
he fell in the building. That one had you wondering just for a second if the whole building was going to fall in on him, or where this was going to go.
Yeah, wouldn't say it was like the most pleasant thing to watch, but when the one kid, it has burns all over his body, and he's like face down in the hospital, and that was definitely like
yeah.
kind of a sad scene. Him and his friends are.
Well, I like where Ponyboy read to him.
Yeah.
I liked when
Oh,
they were
yeah,
trying to
that's
catch
good.
the rabbit and they're playing cards.
Yeah,
Just kind of that's what teenagers would do to amuse themselves. Hey, let's catch this rabbit.
Yeah.
they put a
You know.
bologna sandwich under a
Yeah.
box with a
Yeah.
stick on it.
Now, see, I thought they was going to catch it for food.
Oh, probably, but I just mean, I don't know if they'd know how to cook it, but hey,
Yeah.
I just, if you're sitting there bored in an old church waiting, burning time, you're gonna play cards, you're gonna, read, you're gonna try to catch a rabbit or whatever else, isn't gonna draw any attention around there. Yeah, I like the dynamics between all the different characters.
Yes.
I thought they all played it well.
And I like how they portrayed it where there's not a single person that would go, you know what, those socials were good people. They didn't deserve the bad rep they got. They played that well enough. It's like there's no possible human being, unless they have some questionable moral values themselves, going, the socials didn't deserve any of that.
Yeah, the Greasers are definitely the sympathetic group in this movie.
Yeah.
The Socias are always just pretty much being mean to be mean. Like, it's,
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know. That's how the movie's portrayed, of course, but in real life, everybody has some troublemakers involved in their group, and
yeah, except
there's
for
always
Dallas,
going to be
he's not.
some distinction.
It's not. I liked how the two younger kids like stood up to Dallas when he was just being a jerk. That they didn't totally go along with him, even though it would have been really hard and take some guts to stand up to an older kid that could.
Especially a
Beat you up if
dangerous
you
one.
wanted to,
Yeah, a
yeah.
dangerous one like Dallas.
Yeah, but he'd be, treating Diane Lane's character pretty badly, and they'd be like, "Just knock it off, Dallas. Cut that out." So they had a little bit more of a moral compass, and you were able to stand up to someone even in their own friends group.
Yeah.
This is thoroughly 80s. It's definitely 80s, but it's its own world though. It's like this is they definitely paint the picture and they stay in there like this is all in. Like this is greasers and socias and
Yeah.
not a whole lot of extra fluff around it. Like it's
Yeah.
all about the conflicts that these kids have day in day out.
Yeah, there's not a lot of subplots involved. It's we stay on task, we stay on point through the whole movie.
Which I appreciate. That doesn't pull a Mad Max and just go off some random tangent for no reason.
Just for the sake of it.
Yeah.
Well, we don't have a subplot, so let's make one.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. You guys ready to rake this baby up?
Let's do it.
All right.
Classic. S.E. Hinton,
Mm-hmm.
The Outsiders. I will say, this is one of the few movies that I feel captured the book for the most part.
Okay.
And I've never read the book. That
Yeah,
might-
I read the
haven't
book
either.
first, and I was like, oh
That
man.
helps. I
So
think
then
that
I saw the
helps.
movie, and I was like, yeah, this one's pretty a pretty good portrayal.
Well,
And I don't say that very often. I would say 9 times out of 10, it's
They butcher it.
butchered. Yeah.
while I was watching the movie, like I said, I've never watched the book, but it was when I was watching it, and I thought, this could be one of those because I know when we was in school, a lot of the times you would read a book and then they would show you the movie too to see if you
Oh,
could
yeah.
see the comparison and contrast. And I thought this would be one of those
Yeah.
spot on ones where
Yeah.
they would show you, like I said, I never read the book, but the way the movie was portrayed is like one of those that you could just have this feeling that they pretty well stuck pretty close to the book as best they could.
Yeah.
The characters are so distinct and big, like in their own right, that you could see this definitely translating, or you could see it in a book form too. That
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
got your Soda Pop and your Pony Boy and your 2-bit. Like, it'd definitely be entertaining to read. I think.
Yeah.
You want me to go
Yeah, it's a
first?
good book. Sure.
go ahead.
Yeah, lay it out
Well,
there.
I wanted to say I thought Pony Boy's character was strong, and I thought he did a good job carrying the whole movie throughout. And a lot of the bigger name guys just kind of come in and out. They're not a huge part of the movie, but they add a lot just in terms of those big characters that give you a lot of variety in what's going on. Thought some of the things were a little bit maybe cheesy, like the fight scene, which is not that big of a deal because overall it stuck to the story. Didn't wander off too much or anything. When I was watching, I was like, well, where am I at? And I think once you get into small territory, it starts becoming bad and unwatchable. And I wouldn't say it was bad, but I think I'm right in the middle. I'm a medium on this one.
I gotta say, after that whole spiel,
Yeah.
I really can't believe you just threw down a medium.
Yeah, that's a medium for me. No way I could go large on this one.
Oh my gosh.
Well, Dave, get ready to throw some hate this way. I can tell you that right now.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm large, almost overflowing, just because of the thought behind it. This is a think piece. I mean, this is a movie, but I'm biased. I read the book. I really love the book. The movie's close enough. I know some of the shots are a little cheesy, but it was the 80s.
Right.
So I'm going large, easy,
You're going large.
overflowing large.
Wow. You're
Almost mop bucket. I would say if I agree with Justin, if some of the scenes were shot better, the fight scenes,
Right.
And a little bit less cheesiness here and there. But I think back to it, and like even the portrayal at the drive-in, they have that's how that would go. Everybody has that annoying friend that's going to come and just pester you just because.
Right.
And how you deal with it's tough. And and if you ever grew up and remember a time back to when you were bullied, do you stand up for yourself? Do you let it ride out? What do you do? And if you're trying to impress somebody, you make drastic moves.
Right.
Those sentiments are all portrayed here.
Right.
I agree.
Coming from a broken home to having an older brother acting as the father figure. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot there. That's why, to me, it's almost a mop bucket. If it was cinematically shot a little bit better, it'd be an easy mop bucket.
Right.
Oh, reminds me of something funny my dad said. At the drive-in movie theater, they just show like a quick little shot of some kids, they open the trunk and a couple
Yeah,
of kids
yeah.
jump
Pop out,
'cause
yeah.
they got in for free, and my dad was like, "Oh yeah, I remember doing that."
Yeah.
Okay, so now here I have to ask: was your dad the driver, or was he in the trunk?
It sounded like he was popping out of a trunk at some point.
Yeah, yeah.
in his youth.
I mean, we used to go over to Calhoun to the movie theater over there, and it was you paid by the car,
Yeah,
so that made it easy. You didn't have to sneak
Didn't have
in.
yeah.
Didn't have to ride in a truck.
Yeah, I drive past that every time I have to go to Grantsville, and it's so
Yeah.
depressing watching that thing just literally just sit dilapidated.
Yeah,
so.
it's kind of crazy because that was always a good time when the kids were little. They had a little playground in the back.
Mhm.
You'd show up an hour early. Kids would go play on the playground, buy popcorn, buy your stuff. You know, we'd open up the back hatch or sit in lawn chairs and throw down a blanket for the kids and watch whatever movie.
Yeah.
Huh. All right, Joe, lay it on us.
All right. So Justin's going to have an extra occupant in his boat. I'm going to meet him.
Oh, jeez.
And now let me. I have some valid reasons.
I know your reasons. Not enough explosions. The one gun they did have was empty. Yep, I got you.
Oh no, actually no, that
I'm
plays
just,
anything.
yeah, that's me joking.
So when I read the special edition where they had the extended opening, the
Mhm.
way it described it, I thought that would have been perfect. Because like I said, I was about 10, 15 minutes into it, and I had to pause it to figure out where I was at in the story. It just made no sense.
Yeah.
So I think if they would have had that extended opening, that would have helped me make a better idea of the story, where we're going.
Yeah.
The church scene, like Justin and I was talking.
Yeah, where did kids come from?
Yeah, it's abandoned, but all of a sudden we have these kids come out of nowhere. That was kind of And then the fight scene.
Yeah.
And the only reason I'm throwing so much heat on the fight scene is because it's built up to this point throughout the entire movie. The Rumble, this is going to be the end all be all. This, you can't miss it. And you've promised your people water, and you take them there, and it's prune juice. It's just like you can't. There's no comeback from that. It's like, yeah, we've promised you this, and it's not half of what you would think it would be. I'm not looking for, a big high production fight scene, but come on, I mean, a scene of just a bunch of guys bouncing each other around in the mud. It doesn't sound
Yeah.
big cinematic fight scene. That
Well, I mean,
we're
this
all
was
expecting.
it was the '80s, early '80s, portrayed in the '60s.
So nobody knew how to fight back in the 60s?
Well, I mean, I see it kind of like one of the old beloved westerns where when you swing at a guy and the punch and you're a foot away,
Yeah.
but the whole point is the punch happened.
Right.
The cinematic opportunities weren't as good as they are now. I mean, a lot of scenes back in the '80s were sloppy,
Mhm.
Right.
just because they had to just make
But
do.
still, this was just kind of a little over-exaggerated, sloppy.
Yeah, I agree. Francis Ford Coppola was in the
Yeah,
beginning of his
just a little-
career,
Yeah, there's just one kick that.
and none of
stood
these
out.
actors were big yet.
Yeah.
Right.
One kick where you could tell the guy just was very lightly kicking towards him. He's like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay. But
Yeah.
yeah, that didn't ruin it for me or anything. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I gave my high rating because of the film's intent.
Mm-hmm.
The stories behind every character
Mm-hmm.
is what sold me.
Right.
Yeah, the journey was better than the destination. The building up to the fight scene, wasn't the payoff or anything for me. It was all the little things along the way.
Mhm.
There was some good stuff in there, definitely.
Yeah, the journey was much better than the final destination.
Okay. So there you have it. 2 mediums and a large. And of course,
Respectable score.
I'm the only one with the good taste in this group.
Yep.
It's
Mad
becoming
Max 2.
it's becoming clearly evident, and I know Justin picked Mad Max 2, and I don't know what to say. Anyway, so
I refuse to throw Justin under the bus on that one.
So I've got this big list that fans sent in of some must-see movies, but
Yeah.
you think we'll take a week off of this and just come back to it?
Yeah, I
well, it's in the
pick.
rotation, right?
yeah, it's in the rotation.
It'll be in the rotation.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Alright.
you got your pick
So I'm
completely
on.
independent of the list,
Dun dun dun.
Yep. This is the
and you got your
2000
pick, right?
2019 Amazon Prime original Sound of Metal.
Really?
Sound of Metal.
Anybody seen it? I
No.
haven't
Never heard
asked.
of it.
No.
Okay.
Okay, Justin.
I'm just clarifying here. You went from a no sound at all,
Right.
19.
Well, that's
The
what-
General, the
that's-
best comedy in the world
That's
that was not funny at all.
That's the thing. My understanding is there are some silent scenes in this one because I mean it's a heavy metal drummer that
Oh, is
loses
this
his hearing.
the deaf one,
Right.
the deaf musician?
Yeah, and I'm not sure how many
Ooh.
silent scenes will be in here, but I think when it looks at the world through his eyes, there are going to be some scenes where things go pretty quiet.
I wanted to see this. I
2 hours and 10 minutes,
I've got 2 hours flat as well.
and it moves at a snail's pace.
I have not seen this.
Riz
yet.
Ahmed is definitely one of my favorite actors out there, so
I don't know
looking
who
forward
that
to
is.
this one.
I have not seen this one, Justin, but just as of right now, excellent pick because I wanted to see this. Now I may be throwing you
Yeah.
under the bus
Yeah.
next week, but
That's
as
all
of
right.
right now, excellent pick.
Wait a minute, he's one of your favorite actors? What's he
Yeah.
act in?
Well, The Night Of is what did it for me. He did an HBO series called The Night Of, and I thought he was really good in that.
Interesting.
So have you seen this one before?
Nope.
Really?
Yeah, it's just one of those that's been on my list for a while. So what better
Okay.
venue to put it out there and see how it measures up.
Okay.
Sound of Metal, available free for
So everybody can jump on board and review
Anybody
this
with
one
a
with us.
Prime account, stream it for free.
Yeah, it's an Amazon original, so so Amazon's the only place you can find it.
You know, it's pretty crazy how it's taken a turn now that Amazon, Netflix doing their own movies, their own TV series.
Yeah.
Big business, I guess.
Yeah, and Netflix, Gabriel Iglesias, the comedian, you know, he has his own series on Netflix, and it's, I think it's 2 or 3. He has 2 or 3 seasons on there, so I mean, it's not like a 1 season deal, and it didn't work go on. I mean,
Yeah.
they have shows on there that have gone several seasons.
Yeah. Have you seen *Halt and Catch Fire*, Joe?
No,
You might like it. It's about tech back in the day, back in the 80s.
have you guys seen *Pirates of the Silicon Valley*?
No.
That's an interesting one. That's it's about Bill Gates and Steve Jobs and how they got their claims to fame.
Kind of rose to prominence.
Yeah.
Can't believe you guys gave Outsiders 2 a medium. What the heck?
Oh, I can't.
What's wrong?
I
Yeah.
can't. We have better taste.
Oh, too finicky. Don't understand social norms in the world.
Yeah, I couldn't quite put it in the large, but
Yeah, gotcha. I understand.
yeah.
It's an oldie but a goodie. Okay.
We just can't figure out why you gave it such a high rating.
Oh man, because I like think pieces. I don't like explosions and when a car explodes and jumps itself 30 feet in the air. That's all fluff. I don't. That's not my deal.
Okay, Peanut Butter Falcon did not have any of that.
He did shoot a shotgun one time.
Yeah,
He
but
shot a shotgun. He
Yeah, but
set
he didn't
set a
blow a
boat
car
and
up,
dock
though.
on fire.
Yeah, we didn't blow a car up.
They blew up his boat. He blew up their boat.
Yeah, but still.
I did like rule number 1, party.
Yeah.
Yeah, good stuff.
He threw a guy out of the ring, a 300-pound man.
Yeah, yeah.
Over his head.
Yeah. Okay.
He
now
floated through the sky.
Yeah, now I will have to give you that one was
Well-
kind of eye roller.
Yeah, like Dave with that one, you thought that was a little cheesy, right?
Yeah, I thought it was terribly cheesy. I don't know why they did it because it ruined the
Well,
rest of the movie.
That's what hurt The Outsiders for me. Is
Yeah,
a
I
little
still
bit of
give
cheese
I
here
still
and there.
give Peanut Butter Falcon a great rating though.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
I'm just
You know,
saying that one part was just somebody should have cut in and said, "Listen, we did we did an hour and whatever without this crap.
Yeah.
Why throw that in there?"
One movie, I don't know where it'll fall in the mix, but Jake Roberts, the rest of it we're talking
Yeah,
about. That
Jake the Snake.
Yeah,
Mhm.
we definitely need to watch. I've watched it several times, and I'm anxious to see what you guys think. The documentary they did on him,
Yeah.
The Resurrection. It talks about his drug and alcohol issues and stuff like that, and recovery. It's very, very well done.
Give it
Interesting.
a watch.
All right, well, take us out of here, man. It's been there. Watch that.
All right,
Episode 20, right? Big
Is it?
milestone.
Is it show 20?
Yep.
Is
Nice.
it? Wow.
Okay.
So for all of our reviews, be sure to visit our website at beentherewatchthat.com. Check out our podcast at Been There Watch That, or on all major platforms, hosted by Anchor.fm. Follow us on social media at BTWTPod for all that. And send us your submissions. Like I said, we have a great list started, and we would love to add to it. And just a little, another hint. Last week we brought it up just briefly, and another hint this week. We have a special edition episode coming soon. We have Justin's pick next week, and then we may have a bonus episode in between. We're still ironing out the details on that, on a new feature short film based on, let's just say West Virginia.
Yeah.
Not the state, but maybe some of its residents.
Part of our heritage.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's going to be an interesting ride. So it's going to be an upcoming short film. So we're going to have Justin's pick and possibly a short film within the next week.
Okay.
Yep.
Sounds like a plan. I like it. Been there, watched that. The 20th show. That's amazing to me. I never didn't even realize.
I didn't either.
We just jump in the studio here and start talking about movies, and I like it. Okay. Time flies when you're having fun.
There
right?
you go.
Okay. All right. For myself, Joe, and Justin, we'll be back next week. And Sound of Metal is our pick. So jump in there early, watch it, and then get ready for the show, and you can help us review it. All right. Well, thank you for joining us, everyone. Everybody have a great week. And we'll be back next week with Justin's pick, Sound of Metal.
We'll see you then.